Welcome to Wall Street Journal Weekend Conversations. I'm Lee Hawkins, and we're here with Nick Cannon. Thank you so much for
Mr.
coming.
Hawkins, it's a pleasure, man.
Oh, yeah, you're making your rounds today in New York. And
Absolutely.
you, as one of the most successful young people in Hollywood, a
Thank you.
multifaceted entertainer. You're a film star, you're a comedian, a musician, a writer, an executive producer of television. You've done some pretty big movies.
Thank you.
My first question is really about your core. What do you consider your core talent? Are you a comedian? Are you a rapper? What do you think?
I like to call myself an entrepreneur. But other than that, I would say what I am in my heart is probably a stand-up comedian, because that's what I started doing. That's what kind of opened the doors for me. And that's kind of where, everything kind of resonates from my stand-up upbringing and, even the way that I do business and how I create and how I write. It all comes from a place of, my stand-up roots.
Yeah, and even before we got the show rolling, you had us rolling.
Yeah.
And, you have a lot of ventures. America's Got Talent.
Right.
You've got your Teen Nick venture now, which is a subsidiary of Nickelodeon. You're the chairman of that company.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about in terms of what you're doing right now?
Well, right now, the thing that's in front of me, I would say the Halo Awards. We're the second year of that event. And the only reason why I'm excited about that is because it empowers young people and shines a spotlight on young people who are literally changing the world. And last year, we had everybody involved, from our First Lady, Michelle Obama, to Justin Timberlake, Alicia Keys, LeBron James. And this year, we have Wyclef Jean, we have Ashton Kutcher, and of course, like, my beautiful wife is a part of it this year. So each year it just keeps getting bigger and better, and it's just literally recognizing, ordinary teens are doing extraordinary things. So that's really exciting for me, just as a businessman and a philanthropist. And as an entertainer, I'm really excited about stand-up again. I'm back out there on the road doing my stand-up tour, and then at the same time, I'm putting together my stand-up comedy album and shooting a stand-up special in Las Vegas in February. So those are the things that are exciting me right now.
And you're 30 years old. So
Yeah.
You're not new to the game. As a
At
teenager,
all.
you were a writer.
Right.
For some pretty successful television shows.
Yeah.
Now you're making that transition into the ownership
Right.
aspect and really being a mogul, trying to build an empire.
Right.
Where do you go for that business advice?
I've went to a lot of people. One of the people that probably inspired me more than anyone is probably like Russell Simmons. I sit and talk with him for hours on end about, the moves that he made and how he affected a culture. I talked to Quincy Jones about that as well. Harry Belafonte, being able to spend time with people that I've looked up to for many years, and to see how they've changed the world just with their ideas and blazing trails. They've been an example for me beyond belief.
And what is the most difficult aspect of going from a performer to an entrepreneur, as you call it?
Probably people taking you serious, because people think a lot of times my chairmanship is just a vanity deal, or when I come into a room, it's like, oh, that's just another talent that's gonna come in here and say, I want to do this, I want to do that. But really, I come in, I dress the part because I want to be taken serious. So when I come in the room, it's about business. So that's probably the thing, because people have a preconceived notion of what an entertainer is gonna do in the business world.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at the business world, a lot of your business is geared towards young people.
Right.
Specifically, my niece Dara is 7 years old, and she loves you. How do you stay relevant to that? How do you understand that market and continue to stay relevant to that audience?
That's the market and demographic that I came up in. Like you said, at 17 years old, I was writing for Nickelodeon as a staff writer. So I understood that voice. I was one of the youngest stand-up comics in the game doing it. And as, my career progressed, I never let go of that audience. And even people say, hey, you 30 years old, you still, working with Nickelodeon. Of course, when you think of what that demographic does and what it means, I
And
mean,
how much money they
yeah,
spend.
and how much money they spend. And when you think about people who go to see movies, you're taking your kids to go see movies. And I'm even moving into that world as someone who will soon be a father. It's like you understand that buying power and that the strength of the youth demographic. And literally, I mean, the youth, they're the tastemakers. They're the ones that are literally going to say, this is what I want tomorrow,
Right.
instead of what's going on today.
So if you're investing in the market, you read the Wall Street Journal, right? What do you read? How do you keep up on what's hot with kids?
One, obviously, as we all know, the internet and online is where all the young people are. Sometimes, I think like when I'm trying to be up on what's going on in the market and all that stuff, that's when I'm picking up, the papers and the books and everything. But when you want to know what's going on in the young people's mind, you got to go straight to the internet, because that's where they are. And the reason why they're there is because instead of someone dictating to the youth, they rather people document the situation. They want you to be a part of it. They don't want someone to tell them what to do. They want to be able to voice their own opinion and be energized in a way that it's not just something like that. When you think about a young person, they never want you to spoon feed them. They never want you to be like, oh yeah, this is what's hot, or this is what's going on. They want to discover the situation, and that's what the internet is all about.
Right, and I have a question from one of my Facebook people that asked. Her name is Lewin Lee, and she wants to know, first of all, congratulations. Your wife, Mariah Carey, is pregnant.
Thank you very much.
How will becoming a father affect your business and career? Will it help your career?
I believe becoming a father will affect my career tremendously. One, I'm so focused right now on, my career and being the best entrepreneur I can be, and then even before that, it was being the best husband I can possibly be, and now it's like being the best father I can be. So now my career has to take a step back because I have a new priority, but at the same time, because of that new priority, I'm gonna have to be, even more focused on getting that paper at the end of the day, because you got mouths to feed. So to be able to step in and really have a new energy behind me of why I want to be successful, I'm excited about that.
And you've done well financially. You're talking about getting the paper.
Right.
You've done well financially, even as a young person. When did you first realize, how old were you when you realized, I'm a millionaire now?
Oh, probably around 17, 18 years of age when I started and it happened so fast for me, actually, because it was literally living in a one-room apartment with my mother.
Yeah, and that was the question in terms of the transition.
Yeah.
How did that transition affect you from your prior financial existence to becoming a millionaire at age 17?
I became a millionaire and went broke all before the age of 19. So it's one of those things when you give a kid some money and it's like, I'm used to not having anything, and when I get something, I spent it right away and did a lot of frivolous things and unintelligent things with the money.
What kinds of things did you do?
Oh man, I bought jewelry and Range Rovers, and instead of buying property, I was leasing the most expensive property, and then you turn around and you owe the government 44% of what you made. You don't understand that at 17, 18 years old. Even when people were trying to tell me, one of the people who was a mentor to me at that young age and kind of opened a lot of doors for me was Will Smith. And I remember the first time when I was going to buy the Range Rover that day, and Will was like, man, don't go buy that. You don't need that. And he was absolutely right. And he was someone who, made $1 million and lost it as well as at a young age. So you got to pay attention to the people who came before you. And I just would encourage everybody who does get a little bit of money, like, save your money, do the right things with it, invest it, and just hold on to it in a way. And, make sure you pay your taxes as well, because for some reason it seems like when you think about it, whether in every industry, a lot of people always try to tiptoe around that, and that's our duty. That's what we have to do. And if you don't, that it can definitely be a problem for you later on in life.
Right. And so how did you kind of make that transition to where you really, your psyche changed? I'm trying to build wealth.
Right.
I'm not trying to be rich. I'm trying
Right.
to build wealth. When did that change and what inspired that?
Well, definitely experience is one of the best teachers. So when you get something that you think you want, and then it gets taken away from you, and then you get another opportunity to get it again, you say, all right, this is my second chance. I'm gonna do this the right way this time. So that, and then just research, reading, and seeing people who have done it the right way, and asking them like, all right, so should I invest my money or should I do this, and just getting good advice. So after hitting rock bottom and being able to build again, and it's not about bragging about how much you got or showing it off, because those who really have it don't have to show it off.
Right, and you're kind of seeing that firsthand, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
In Hollywood, around in the circles that you move in.
Right.
And you say you're making a return to comedy.
Yes. I want to say I never really left, but interestingly enough, people know me for many different things, but they don't know me for stand-up comedy, and that's what I do. That's where I started. Even in my leisure, that's what I'm in comedy clubs, on stages, but I've never stepped out there on the platform as in a concert special or anything like that. So, this is one of my long-time dreams, to actually step out there and do that. But, I mean, it's going on almost 20 years that I've been doing stand-up comedy.
And creatively, do you have a philosophical kind of viewpoint on how comedians should be? Like, what makes good comedy?
A lot of people tend to say most comedians are cynical, but I kind of put another spin on it. I mean, I'm sharing my life, so there are a lot of cynical views that I might have about certain things, but I come from a very positive place. I'm usually an optimist, and that's where my comedy tends to lie. If you think about when I host America's Got Talent, the reason why people find me funny a lot of times is because I'm rooting for whoever it is, regardless what they're doing. You know what I mean? They could be out there, juggling pigeons, and I'm like, this is amazing. So a lot of my comedy is rooted in that, and it's quite unique because I'm allowing people inside my life and giving them a very personal look. Because when you think about it, whether it's the tabloids or the internet or whatever going on, a lot of people tend to have their own ideas or make assumptions about what's going on in my life, my relationship. So it's like, this is the first time you're gonna hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
I see in a lot of your interviews, you seem to be affected personally by some of the things that people say and the judgments that people make about your personal life.
And you know what it is? As a comic, I came up with the best of them, and I have no problem with people taking shots and saying things about me. I love it, actually. I encourage it. I do it myself. That, self-deprecating humor is some of the best type of humor. But when you start to involve my family and, the people that I love and who are near and dear to my heart, like my wife, then that's when I get defensive. And I feel like, that's my husbandly duty to do that. And sometimes it is off of emotion, but it's off of strategic emotion. It's not just like me just acting out or saying something. It's like, nah, this needs to be said. And in my own defense or in defense of my family, like, you got to stand up and say things, and don't just allow people to say, oh, because that person's a celebrity. Like, nah, we're real people. And I tend to say a lot of times, like, people consider me a role model. It's like, I'm not a role model. A role is something you play. I'm a real model because I'm a real person. So just if you say something to me and walk up to me on the street, I'm not going to ignore you. I'm going to say something back. That's just the type of person that I am. So I tend to let a lot of stuff towards me go because that's the world I'm in. I understand that. But when you start to involve people's personal situations, imagine if somebody involved your personal situation, you would have something to say to them.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Right. And so now when you look at in the future, what is your vision for where you could be? I mean, it's really, you've already gone far.
Yeah.
But what can you do that hasn't been done?
I feel I've been blessed up until this point to do pretty much everything I've ever wanted to do in entertainment. So, and I'm a true believer in to whom much is given, much is required. So at this point in my life, it's all about doing for others. And that can be through things like the Halo Awards and other philanthropic efforts, but even more so of looking out for young people coming up, because people looked out for me. Will Smith looked out for me. Russell Simmons looked out for me. So I feel like now when I see these young people, I want to give them an opportunity, and a real opportunity. And that's why, you know, I have a lot of systems, whether it's online or whether it's through America's Got Talent, things like that, where I want to see new talent rise and become successful. So that's what my whole entire business model is based upon right now.
Okay, well, we're going to continue to watch you. Nick Cannon.
My man.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for
you, Lee.
coming.
Oh,
This
man,
is
it's
Wall
an honor.
Street Journal Weekend Conversations with Nick Cannon. We'll see you next time.